So nice to meet you, Christopher Thompson. You want to introduce yourself and the work that you do with the Federation of Black Canadians?
No problem. So yes, Chris Thompson here. I'm the executive director with the Federation of Black Canadians, a national non-for-profit focused at advancing the social, political, and economic interests of Black Canadians alongside our allies across Canada. We do, our organization does programs, services, and advocacy work across Canada. We work in four pillars, which is lifelong learning, education, total health, justice, and economics, which the BEP falls in for job creation. We have over about 13 staff across Canada and a board across Canada, and we have over about 3,000 plus members and supporters across Canada as well that we service. And one of our flagship programs is the Black Entrepreneurship Program, focused on pre or early on entrepreneurs transitioning into the sector to guide them, provide them information on what they can expect in the sector, to learn from Black entrepreneurs themselves and what they battle and go through and learn everything from MVP, financial literacy in the program to networking. And we also offer pitches worth $5,000 to $10,000 in cash prizes to people who've gone through the program and then enter our learning and competition of pitch.
So, Christopher, I'm going to focus on the BEP program, which you guys are a recipient. How many entrepreneurs have you guys worked with, and what are some of the levels of successes that you want to share with our Diversity Magazine audience?
No problem. So to date, I think we're just over 37 across our cohort. We've done 6 actual cohorts. We do them in a digital component since we have members all across Canada, so they can jump into the sessions, the 6-week sessions, and then we'll go to provinces and do events or networkers or activate business opportunities for them there. We typically have about 50 to 60 people per cohort and mixing up in between partners, provinces. So they build the ecosystem in their province, but even across provinces. And we also focus on having specific cohort for Francophone entrepreneurs as a bilingual country. And we also have a segment for those with lived or, with those are physical or non-physical disabilities as well as entrepreneurs. Some of the great successes I think is we've had 16 pitch competition winners. So our course is really for new entrepreneurs coming into the system. So a lot of them have never pitched. A lot of them are just learning how to do it. So we're glad that we've been able to be able to support so much people pitching. And a couple of our businesses have gone on to pitch at conferences like Collision, which is a big tech conference, and Elevate, and also win there. So we're glad to see them continue to make some funds. We've had 2 companies who we brought back as leaders of our next cohorts and judges who've been able to market their businesses and to receive clients and some revenue early stage, so Series A and up towards 50 to 100,000 they've raised. So those are some of the successes, and just being able to focus on so much people across different provinces.
So which areas would you say some of your successes are residing? Where are they based in Canada? Just to give our audience some perspective of the areas you're talking about.
A bulk of it is in Ontario, but we have some success rates in Alberta from 2 of our businesses, one working to be in the kind of environment green space or converting, they're using to convert hemp into energy so that can be used. That was one. We have another business out in Toronto that she's really focusing on consulting practices for growing business development and hiring. And so she's making that simpler for her. And we had this other lady who she's doing Caribbean cuisine, and she's been able to get her registry on a lot of platforms where she's getting a lot of clients that are ordering food from her and being able to go into it full time. That also was in Ontario. And right now we are finishing up our cohort in Quebec. So I'll probably be able to get back to you what we're seeing from that in a little bit.
So we're in Ontario. Ontario is big, right? Which cities are we talking about? So to give us a clear perspective
no problem.
Where you're in.
So in Toronto, the one with the food was Scarborough. She's actually from Scarborough, but closer to Toronto. The other individual I was talking about was in I guess, Mississauga and Toronto. They tend to stay around the GTA to go down there for business. So those were 2. And then in Alberta, the person was in Edmonton, was the standout one. Yeah.
Okay, good. So this funding unfortunately runs out on at the end of March 2025.
Yes, it does,
What
unfortunately.
happens after that?
So basically, what happens after that is kind of the end point. But what we are doing is being very proactive. So a coalition. So this program brought together over 40 groups plus in just the BEP program, which I'm sure you're aware of, and you've spoken to some others. So what we're doing now is being very proactive to tell the government this is what's been happening. This is why they need to keep it going forward. So our goal and what we're pushing toward is to get renewed funding of this program for another 4 years, and to put permanent funding in there for 4 years to ensure that the businesses in the program can continue. I mean, in terms of it, what happens post that is the ecosystem is there. Now, the ecosystem needs work, but the Black businesses and groups have already been meeting. A lot of them have been meeting bi-weekly or monthly and figuring out how do we keep our program going, whether we bring some together, crowd fund, sponsorship. Some groups hopefully have been able to use the time having this program to develop some additional funding streams, which I can at least speak for FBC that we secured additional funding to keep us going while we, work toward the government, which is a longer, slower machine. So that's kind of where we're at, working together as the groups, soliciting our own type of funding through other sponsors, corporate and private, and then also advocacy toward the government to ensure that the program could continue.
So what I'm hearing is that this program will continue after the funding runs out. Because with the problem we are having in most of the other ecosystem partners is that the programs are going to stop and entrepreneurs are not going to have the support that they have been providing. Is that the case in your group that is serving Southern Ontario?
Well, Southern Ontario, I can't speak for all the groups and what happened. Yeah, unfortunately,
no, for your group, because
for our group, technically, for our group, we're very blessed. We have great opportunity. We've been able to use our resources and structures to really continue building and funding. So when we got the BP funding, we did not just say, okay, we have this funding and work. We actually have divisions of staff who continue to pitch the program and different things to others. So we were able to, through banks or different organizations, get funding to keep us going. What will happen though, for us as well, is there will be decline in service ability of reach.
So there'll be a reduction in the service. So you will not serve as many persons as you currently serve.
100%. This 237 number will drastically decrease. Okay. And so that's why the need for us to continue this programming is so important, that the government can started something that will likely have a negative reaction if they were just to end it. They've provided jobs. It's provided jobs for so many. I don't know the numbers right now, but I know we have the stats on the jobs it's provided, the ecosystem, the connections. For it to just abruptly stop would probably have a reverse spin on even the economy within Canada, which the Black community is heavily based in. So it would have a negative kind of aspect on overall. It will negatively affect us in terms of we have waiting lists. So unfortunately, the waiting list would grow because our numbers would go down. And chances are we wouldn't be able to get to as many provinces as we were delivering because most of that local funding would probably stay local in Ontario.
Good. Anything else you want to add with this very important program that is going to be running out across the country?
Well, I think it's a call to action. I think it's just a call to action that, for anybody seeing this or watching this, if they've been part of organization leading it or they know people part of it, they know that in Canada, entrepreneurship is something very difficult, but very needed. We need to be able to support Black entrepreneurs and all entrepreneurs as well to be able to support and get into the ecosystem. It only helps Canada grow. So for Canada to create this base, and honestly, as part of the decade, we only had partial of the decade. So the Canada government has just recognized the extension of the decade. They therefore should recognize the need to continue their commitments, financial commitments into the decade. There's no point of just saying we're going to recognize and make sure we get the full 10 years and don't give us funding to make sure stuff can happen with it, right? It's kind of an empty promise that we're going to recognize the decade for the full time it needs to be recognized, but we're not going to continue the funding.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, Christopher Thompson. And Christopher Thompson, of course, is the director at Federation of Black Canadians.
Yes.
Keep doing the good work.